The Switch has been home to many triumphant revivals for Nintendo, but the Mario and Luigi series has sadly missed the boat.
A 5? You think this game's a 5? You gave Concordia a 7 and that game stopped existing 2 weeks after it released. You suck, IGN. Suck my left nut. What's wrong with you? That was pretty much the internet's response to IGN's review of Mario and Luigi Brothership. My reaction was, oh, come on, it can't be that bad. Mainly because this game looked interesting to me. Have you ever been in a mood for a game? Well, I was in the mood for something like this. So I had already built enough hype in my head that even this 5-score review didn't really deter me from wanting to play it. So now that I have finally 100% the game, I actually have some thoughts. Was IGN right about anything? Is this game actually a 5? Well, let's take a look at Mario and Luigi Brothership. Mario and Luigi have been through a lot together. They have saved themselves. They've had a crossover with Paper Mario. They've been inside Bowser. And in this latest adventure, they tackle the high seas. In the first ever Mario and Luigi RPG turn-based game for the Switch, in Brothership, my brain always wants to call it Brotherhood. I've called it Brotherhood in normal life conversations and was never even corrected. Did y'all do it? Did any of y'all do that? Dyslexia. Anyway, in Brothership, Mario and Luigi and others from the Mushroom Kingdom mysteriously get transported to Concordia, eventually finding themselves on Ship-Shape Island. This is a giant ship island that is basically your hub world. This was once connected to other islands with help of the Uni Tree, and this is what had the whole land of Concordia thriving. This has now been disconnected and a mysterious darkness looms around it. So with help from Connie and many others that you're going to be finding along the way, it's up to Mario and Luigi to find the other islands and literally connect the lighthouses with giant plugs to this giant tree to restore Concordia back to its greatness. The story isn't groundbreaking by any means, but I am going to agree with one of the big criticisms of the game. It's way too chatty. I personally do not like talking about games until I finish them, which is the big reason why this whole video is kind of late. And it's late because I'm a slow reader. I truly wonder how many pages of dialogue there is in this game. I want to know how much I read. There is a lot of reading, and I'm very curious because I want to be credited. Did I read 200 pages, 300 pages, 150 pages? I don't know. I want to know. But is the writing bland? A little bit. They definitely tried to go for some jokes, like the ongoing one that Snoutlet, your companion this time around, is actually not a pig. Plus there are electric puns throughout. The game really tries to be super punny with everything. I feel like you can spot the difference between trying something and failing and just straight up being lazy. And I can sense that there was some effort here, so this is not lazy by any means. They just tried to be funny and it kind of fell flat sometimes. But what bothered me the most from this game is how slow it is, both in the pacing and in the animation of the cutscenes. You can speed it up by holding down the B button, and you will see down in the corner how I did that a lot. I wanted things to hurry up a bit more because it just takes a minute to get to the point. So I can agree with the over-explanation point of the review. There is a lot of talking, the story is okay, but also if you're coming to play any sorts of Mario game for the story, you can't really have super high expectations. I personally enjoyed the story. There's a few surprises that I wasn't expecting with some fanfare, and even still I would say Brothership has a good message about the connections you make along your journey. What the biggest point the game makes is that only Italians understand each other. Huh? I swear, every time these two were speaking to each other, distracted Italian hands from me. So, like I said, you don't play Mario for the story, you play Mario for the gameplay. IGN said it feels like it was made for ages 6 to 12 and called it baby's first RPG. But also, the combat is awesome, but it's just too easy. My response is, if you didn't complain about the Super Mario RPG remake difficulty, you shouldn't complain about the difficulty here, because it's about the same. Like, you could just be coasting, killing enemies left and right, and then all of a sudden something bigger shows up and surprises you with different patterns and you may die. But all you really need to do is clutch up and you're fine. But I think because the pace is so slow, it stays easy for a very long time. The pace of most RPGs is super slow. I feel like this takes a little bit longer to get going, like to eventually get all the tools that you're going to need to add the more variety to the combat, the first boss doesn't really show up until you're like 4 hours in, so I felt it to be really slow in introducing new mechanics and attacks to the combat. But I still found it to be fun. Each bro has their standard jump attack and hammer hit, plus they each perform different bro attacks that can deal more damage and can hit all the enemies at once. The strength of your attack depends on how well you perform the button presses like it's been for the whole series. You will also be pressing buttons on the defensive side. You can also guard up or jump to dodge it or use your hammer to hit attacks back or destroy things. There really are so many enemies and they each come with their own different pattern of attack. So you gotta have to remember each enemy's pattern to successfully avoid getting damage. I did feel like it's missing different hammer and jump attacks though. That makes you do different button presses because you only have the two and they stay the same throughout the whole game. So I wish there was like some sort of upgrade to the jump attacks or the hammer attacks, making it more powerful. I don't know, just switching up the combinations. Maybe you have to press it, kind of like Paper Mario a bit, adding a little bit more spice to the normal attack. But the mechanic that spices up the combat the most are the battle plugs. During exploration, you're going to find these sprite bulbs that you will then use to create battle plugs, and these are attachments that provide boosts to the combat. Like using a mushroom when your health is low, automatically using a 1-up when someone goes down. You can add fire or ice effects, have extra defense, a ton of stuff. Because the plugs have a set amount of uses, they need time to recharge, which I actually like because it kind of forces you not to stick to the same plugs throughout the whole game. Plus, you can set plugs that work great with each other, like the kaboom attack that damages enemies within a radius, and a surprise iron ball that drops through the sky with an excellent attack. Or that same kaboom plug could be mixed with the one that adds fire damage or ice damage, the one that makes them dizzy. There's so many to mix and match that it's pretty fun. And it's all really dictated by the enemies that you're facing. Because you can switch them at will on the fly on your turn, it doesn't really cost you a whole turn or anything. So you can be constantly switching enemies any attack you want. So figuring out what plugs are the best for each fight is actually pretty fun. The plug mechanic I really enjoyed. I also love how expressive the bros are during battles, hopping up and down, and when they get attacked they make faces. And during the big boss battles you will get Luigi logic. This is where Luigi uses his noggin to find a different way to attack the boss, which leads to a different attack minigame that offers way more damage. It was just another added fun little wrinkle. The items throughout the whole game I did find to be pretty basic. There are challenges that you can do that will reward you with beans and gear to increase stats. As gear, you got the boots, you got the hammer, you got some wear. Not only do they boost your stats, but some of them actually add effects. You also have the gloves and accessories. There's just a ton that add stuff to it. So there's some playstyle differences if you'd rather be more defensive or more offensive. And even if you think the game is too easy, there's this one item that you can equip that's going to boost all your stats like crazy, but you can also die with one hit. So if you really wanted to, there are things you could do to have different experiences. The enemy level does steadily increase with you. I didn't felt like I needed to go off and farm any experience to try to level up out of the pace of the game. I like clearing out the enemies as I go anyway, so if you just do that, you should be fine. I even found myself skipping enemies sometimes. I really love this flag showing your experience. It's just a little thing that I like paying attention to. And after a certain amount of levels, you start to rank up, where you can pick a different stat or something else to boost. There are a lot of islands to connect, and to find them you will follow these currents to slowly open up the map on the boat. Our IGM boy hated the boat traversal, and I must disagree. I actually found it to be a fun, different mechanic. He said it was super slow, so I guess he actually didn't finish the game because later on you get a boost to speed it up, and towards the end you can just completely teleport to different currents. I don't think it's nearly as terrible as he was saying. I actually find it to be a kind of cool way to explore the seas. You could be cruising down a current and then run into a new island or a little islet that has treasure, puzzles, and challenges to do. The different aesthetics to the islands are kind of fun. Sure, I guess if you call them generic, I'm not going to argue with you too much. You have your fire island, your ice island, there's one that has both. But I think then more than that, I found the design of the people of Concordia to be even more generic. I feel like if I were to show you these characters, you would never guess it from a Mario game. But at the same time, I guess since they are being called from a different world, it kind of makes sense story-wise, so I can't get on them too bad. Their design just feels a bit uninspired to me. The game's called Mario and Luigi, so I was a bit surprised how much Luigi takes a back seat in this game. For the most part, he's going to be behind Mario tagging along. You can control his jumps and hammer hits, but it definitely feels like Mario's the main character. No matter how much they try to give Luigi shit to do, with his whole logic stuff, it just doesn't feel equal. Later on, they get separated for a bit, so you will be controlling Luigi, but it still feels like Mario's the main guy. And I don't remember the other games giving me this feeling. There are even puzzles where you're kind of competing against him instead of working with him. I kind of wish you could switch between the bros on command to make it feel more even, to not give Mario special treatment. When they do work together, you do bro moves to solve puzzles, break things that are in your way, or get over things. You have your saucer, you have the ball, and you have this ice and fire attack that's actually pretty cool. And these bro moves will slowly get an upgrade as the story progresses. I will say none of the puzzles are like brain busting, they're pretty simple. Again, it's a Mario game. I wasn't expecting to do any fishing, so that was kind of cool. And I also like how you can start to slowly see Ship-Shape Island fill up with people from the other islands. Like these 3 comadres that just starts to give you chisme of what the hell's going on in the other islands and who needs help in the form of side quests. These will have you returning to the island after connecting them, opening up new areas to explore. Sometimes you will even face bosses that you already faced, maybe even more powerful ones or completely new ones. But most of the side missions do feel like annoying filler to me. They just have you talking to people and they have you going from one place to another and go talk to him, go talk to this guy, go talk to her. She was looking for a boyfriend and this guy wants to talk to this guy and this guy wants the recipe for this and this guy wants a piece of cake. And so most of them aren't particularly super fun. They feel kind of pointless, honestly. But within the boring ones, there are some that are pretty fun. You end up finding some Mario characters and you have to deal with them. There's some boss fights, like I mentioned, they're really cool. But unfortunately, it just feels like there's way more of the pointless ones than the cool ones. If they were to cut out some of these boring ones, they would have shaved off a good 10 hours of gameplay, I believe. So that makes the game drag a little bit because there's a lot of filler. Even towards the end of the game, you're going to face the final boss and then all of a sudden you're kind of yanked out of that scenario and you still have a few more hours to go, making you feel like the game's overstaying its welcome a bit. To have you running around collecting this thing and it's just kind of unfulfilling. As I'm playing, I'm just like, can we get to the final guy now? But again, the combat is fun enough that you're willing to endure just to see the end of the game. I really like the backgrounds of the battlefield. There are so many islands that they all feel different and unique within each other. Some of the islets do look very similar, and I wish that some of the uniqueness of the major islands was also translated to the island ones. But I actually like the design of our main characters, Mario, Luigi, and some of the other ones. I think they look really cool. It looks like the game belongs in the Mario and Luigi series. It feels the same. I also ultimately think that Brothership is a worthy entry to the Mario and Luigi series. I don't think it's the best and I don't think it's the worst. I had personally so much hype in this game going in that I was afraid to be disappointed. And even with some of the negatives that I mentioned, I don't think I was. It also didn't exceed my expectations by any means. I still enjoyed it. It's a well-made game. There's a lot of reading, but there's also even more combat to make up for it. I enjoyed the void exploration, and the handful of characters that I wasn't expecting to see actually brought a smile to my face. With the Switch entering the end of its life cycle, I would have never expected this game to even come out. That's the thing that really intrigued me from its announcement. A Mario and Luigi RPG for the Switch? That wasn't nobody's bingo card, especially how late in the life cycle we're in. And I guess it makes sense because you can still maintain a similar art style that you had in the 3DS. And even still, yes, there's a little bit of performance issues. It does perform better in handheld, but nothing even remotely close as bad as the reviewer was saying. I think it's a good game. It's a fun Mario RPG. The thing with the big old 5 review is that the reviewer probably had super high expectations with him being a fan of the series, and was ultimately just super disappointed. So he got in his feelings and went super harsh on the game. That is a big reason why I personally don't operate in scores for my reviews, because each person's scale is totally different. A 5 for IGN means something different to you, and it means something different to me, and different to the reviewers within IGN itself. All I know is that I'm sure the IGN reviewer must feel a type of way for knowing that he has the power to piss off a whole community with a single number. That's just crazy. At the end of the day, it's all opinion based. So let me know yours down in the comments. Did the review discourage you from playing this game at all? Did you ignore the review completely? Did you agree with anything he said, anything I said? Please let me know your thoughts on Mario and Luigi Brothership. I'm very curious because I had never expected this game to be this divisive. So please let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and remember to always and forever, you do you.